This is December 2018, our skiing holiday. Flaine is in the French Alps. I chose it as it has lots of green runs for us to use, minutes away from our accommodation, and there's lots of interesting old concrete buildings to explore for old lifts. Let's get started then. We start with the apartment where we were staying, which has 6 floors with 3 lift blocks, each containing 2 lifts. Normally I would refuse to film modern day lifts, but in this case the lift sounds like a hairdryer and falls into the something unusual category. Here is an observation. These lifts do not appear to be MRLs, which means the original motorroom has been retained. This is good for me as it means there might still be a chance of finding something old to film. Flaine has 2 levels. The top level contains apartments and smaller shops. Although some of the buildings are old, they all contain Schindler lifts from the 2000s. The lower part of Flaine is the main square, with lots of shops and lots of very interesting old concrete buildings. To get from the lower to the upper part of Flaine there are 2 different types of incline lifts, but we'll look at these in a different video. Just for the record, the only buildings included in these videos are the ones that look old enough to have an old lift inside them. The lobbies are all unlocked, so access into most buildings is easy. Unfortunately, the lift has been modernised to a Schindler from the 2000s. This is just an electrical cupboard with lots of missing devices, which is of little interest. As before, the old motorroom is in use here. I do like these old buildings. The next buildings on the left are exactly the same. I didn't even bother going into them. This part of the town reminds me of my trip to Chernobyl and Pripyat for some reason. Let's see if we can find anything worth filming in the next building, which has 5 floors with 3 lift lobbies and 1 lift inside them. Another Schindler lift from the 2000s. It appears that the lifts in this town were all modernised in the 2000s. I've boosted up the light levels on my action camera as this corridor is really dark and spooky. The lift may not have any character, but this building in particular does. The last two apartment blocks have two buildings, each containing two lift lobbies with two lifts inside them. These are the only two blocks left worth looking inside. For me, this video is so far quite disappointing, which goes to show that finding old lifts in public these days is very difficult. I stopped doing these tours back in 2008 because of this. It's now 10 years later and it's hardly worth bothering. So why am I bringing this video to you? I always try to keep my lift filming criteria rules. So maybe this ticks some criteria. This was very tempting. I thought about it for a bit, but following my disappointment of not finding an old lift, I was demoralised, and I'm afraid to say I couldn't be bothered to go in. But bear with me here. I started walking back to our apartment, and I couldn't believe what I'd just done. Rejected the opportunity to have a look inside a motorroom. There might still be something worth filming in there. Well, maybe this ticks some criteria. Of course I went back. A motorroom tour in the next video.